On this episode of Locked On Angels, get your grade book out, your number 2 pencil, and pull those glasses down to the end of your nose. It's time to grade the Angels' first half, and Johnny, I, for one, am going to be asking for a few parent-teacher conferences after we announce some of these grades. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to class. It's time to get locked on with Mike and Jon. We're so glad that you're here. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all this Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. Leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On Everydayer. And whether you're watching or listening, come over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's really one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Booking.com. Booking.yeah, the right stay can make you a fan in any city, even your rival city. Check out Booking.com for your stay today.
Thanks for being here for this episode of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is Jon, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother Jon.
Hey, we've been fans of this team for years. It's our third season here at Locked On Angels, and we're talking Angels baseball Monday through Friday, every single weekday here with you. On today's show, we're going to grade the roster, Michael. The first half of Angels baseball is up for debate, so we're going to share our grades through all the different positions, and we're going to start with the pitching staff, the starters, and relievers. Mike, why don't you get us started?
All right, so I'm going to give the starting pitching in the first half an overall grade of C. Here's why. A couple reasons. Lack of consistency. There have been some stretches where they were pretty good, but then there's been a lot of stretches where they weren't so good. And they get a C because Tyler Anderson helps the curve get better. Without Tyler Anderson, they're like a D. Maybe
we're grading on the curve here, huh? Okay.
Yeah, and Tyler Anderson gets an A for me based on 2 reasons, Jon. Recently, he said he's pitching so that his team can be competitive and keeping them in the game. I love that mentality. And he's been the most consistent starter for us this season. I know he's had a couple of rougher starts, but when you compare his rougher starts to who he was last year and who the team is this year, he's really improved. After last year, Anderson's improvement in his walks per 9 are down. It's 4 walks per 9 last year to 3.5 this year. His ground ball rate is better this year, 30% last year, 36.6 this year. That's helped him to become a bit more dominant on the mound. And so I really have appreciated the pitcher that Tyler Anderson has become this season. Now, let me talk about Jose Soriano. I'm going to give him a C because he is learning how to be a starter again. I know he was a bullpen guy, kind of a long relief guy. I want to see him be a bit more consistent in his outings, but I give him some grace because he, again, is learning. Like, here's an example. He had a start where he went 4 innings, gave up 4 earned against Oakland, and then had a next start where he went 6 innings and gave up 1 earned against the Mariners. Right. And so this is what I want to see out of him. I want to see a bit more consistency where he isn't leaving games in the 3rd and 4th inning. He's getting at least to the 5th, 6th inning. That shows some improvement. Griffin Canning, I'm going to give a C. He's given up a lot of home runs, but he has recovered in his starts to at least go 5 innings. And it was something that was talked about in the offseason and during spring training by Barry Enright. Enright watched him last year pitch against the Arizona Diamondbacks and had a really rough first inning and then recovered really well. And so that's kind of Canning's MO. Home runs are up for Canning, especially in the first inning. And that's something that he has to figure out. And so I give Griffin Canning a C. I'm going to give Reed Detmers a D only because
his name starts with D.
His name starts with D.
Okay.
No, I'm going to give him a D only because he started well, but he has not been a really good starter for us. And I think he needs to continue to stay down in AAA to continue to work on some things. And he has been up and down since he's been in AAA, had a couple of really good starts, and then he's just looked messy. And then finally, I'm going to give Sandoval a D. Lack of consistency. He was the opening day starter, wanted to be the frontline guy. A lot of talk, right, about how he was going to lead this team. And then there was a lack of performance. It seems like that's what the Angels kind of operate in. We talked about our conversation yesterday with Artie Moreno, and Rob Manfred, and he wants to win and already wants to win. We hear that a lot. And same thing with Sandy. He's like, I want to lead this team. Well, we really didn't see that this year. And now with the injury, he is going to be out at least probably until 2026. So I give him a D. And then for the rest of the starters, those guys that have filled in, Davis Daniel is an example of that. I give them a C. I'm going to go kind of easy on them, put them kind of in the neutral category because they're learning how to win. They're learning how to pitch. They're coming up for the minor leagues. It seems like for somebody like the double-A guys that come up, it seems like their mentality is, I know what I need to work on. I know what I need to adjust. And so I'm going to do that. So I give the rest of the starters a C. Overall, I give all of the starters a C. And it's that grade because Tyler Anderson is an A in my book.
Mike, I'm going to give the starting rotation a D grade. Okay. D as in Detmers, because my big question here for the starting rotation is what rotation? Yeah. You have Tyler Anderson, you've got Griffin Canning, you've added Jose Soriano halfway through the season, and then who? Because Detmers is gone, Silseth is gone, Sandoval is also gone. This rotation that we came into the season with was asked to pitch way above their heads and their pay grade and do things that they've never done before. Most of these guys are pitching in a 5-man rotation for the first time. They haven't even gotten past 150 innings, most of them. And so they were asking a lot for this young rotation in terms of Detmers and Sandoval and whatnot. Their ERA is 26 in the majors. It's 4.63 ERA right now. There's not really any great results other than Tyler Anderson. And again, we're grateful that he's having a great season, but he's also pitching above his pay grade, so to speak. I mean, in terms of the innings pitched and the results he's getting, it's great. But to think that he's going to replicate this coming into this season or do this coming into the season, I think was questionable. Soriano's been great, but you're right. He's still really hit and miss. That Oakland start and then the Mariners start, he's still just a rookie, so I'm willing to give some grace there. But Griffin Canning, worse than last year. 4.3 runs per 9 last year, 5.19 runs per 9 this year. So I'm just seeing everything trending in the wrong direction other than Tyler Anderson, other than Soriano figuring it out, because the guys that we meant to roll into the season with are not there. Sandoval's hurt. Detmers is working on things in AAA. Silseth got hurt. Still doesn't seem to have quite recovered either. So I'm giving the starting rotation a D.
Okay, let me talk about the bullpen, Johnny. And this one might be, I think I'm speaking from my fan heart here rather than probably a logical, reasonable evaluator. I'm going to give the bullpen a B, and here's why I'm going to give them a B. Okay. Because ironically, they've been one of the best things on this team this season.
It's true.
They haven't been something that we've really been able to count on in years past, but this year, we've been able to count on them more often than not, but not because of what you would expect. The Angels got really lucky. We've talked about this with Hunter Strickland and Hans Kraus and Carson Fulmer. They got really lucky with those guys, and those guys have been really, really good. Strickland was going to retire, and now he's back, right? And then Ben Joyce has come up. He's developed. I think that's a really good sign that he has developed. They have him throwing that splinker, splitter, whatever they want to call it. And that's been a good sign for the Angel system and for Barry Enright. Luis Garcia has had flashes of good moments. He isn't above critique because he has hurt the Angels in some late innings early this season. Same with Matt Moore. And then Carlos Estevez, I'm going to give him an A. He's pulling the whole bullpen up because for me, here's why I'm giving him an A. Not because of his stats, but because he's recognizing where he needs to adjust, and he's adjusting and not making excuses for that. So I give the bullpen for the first half a B.
I like that. I gave them a B minus. So I'm about where you are, again, for all the same reasons. They started out really iffy, but they've been the ones helping the Angels win the very few games that they've been able to win. Mike, Carlos Estevez, like you said, improved after that rocky start to the season. Ben Joyce is finally becoming the guy that we were hoping for. And that's more than just the velo. It's becoming a strategic, smart, cerebral pitcher, if you will. And like you said, Luis Garcia, hit and miss. Matt Moore has been hit and miss. This isn't the bullpen that Perry built, but it's the one they accidentally stumbled into with Strickland and Kraus and Joyce and Fulmer and those guys doing what they're doing. So for me, it's a B minus in the first half for this bullpen. It might look very different in the second half because, Lord willing, they trade a lot of these expiring deals and get some pieces back. Something is better than nothing. And I think that's what the MO of the Angels needs to be coming into this trade deadline. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Angels are back at it on Friday and play the A's at 6:40 Pacific time. You can catch every pitch of the Angels hometown broadcast on SiriusXM with the SXM app. Just search Angels. Coming up on Locked On Angels, we're going to give our grades to the outfielders. What do we think about this outfield this season, Mike? Well, we're going to tell everybody coming right up.
If you're working on your car, you need ebaymotors.com. They have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and even level it up to peak performance. They have superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, so much more, whether you're into speed or power or style or all three of those, like John is. eBay Motors has got you covered with over 122 million parts for your auto. You'll find exactly what you're looking for at ebaymotors.com. And then they've got the eBay Guarantee Fit, which means that your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every single time or your money back. And if you go to their website, you'll see how it works. They make sure that what you're selecting is perfect for the car that you're driving. They don't want you to be burning cash. They want you to be burning some rubber. Love that. With all the parts that you need at the prices that you want, it's easy to turn your car into your own MVP and bring home a win. Keep your car, truck, or SUV alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions do apply, and the eBay Guarantee Fit is only available to U.S. customers.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Game Time is now an authorized ticket marketplace for MLB, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. They're obsessed with finding you ways to help you save you money on tickets. If you go to Game Time, you can get last-minute deals and save up to 60% off sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and so much more. You can save even more with exclusive in-app flash deals on selected seats ahead of the game or the event. And you can save even more on zone deals when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats. They have all-in pricing, shows the total up front, no surprise fees at checkout. Plus, every purchase you receive Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app today. Use our promo code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Again, that's $20 off your first purchase with our code LOCKEDONMLB. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, and this is Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. And we thank you for making this your first listen of the day. Now, your second listen, you should switch over to Locked On Sports Today. It's a free 24/7 sports streaming channel programmed for you every single day to bring you the biggest stories in sports. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. And the Angels are back. Your team are back on Friday. They're playing the A's in Oakland. I think this is the last time, right? This is the last time they're going to be. It's the last time they're going to be in Oakland, and I wonder if there's going to be a possum in the booth this time. Now they're playing at 6:40 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Mike, it's time to grade the outfield, and if you don't mind, I'll take a little swing at this one since you started us out last time. Altogether, Mike, I'm giving the outfield a D. Giving them a D grade. They have put up a 90 weighted runs created plus altogether as an outfield unit, which is 10% lower than league average. And that's a lot to do with the inconsistency from Joe Adell and Mickey Moniak. Their highs are very high,
right?
But their lows are really low. and I'll talk about that in a second. Mike Trout's hurt again. Ward's broken at the plate. So overall, I'm giving them a D, but let me go player by player here. Kevin Pillar, I'm giving him an A-, Mike.
Oh, okay.
Because he stepped into a role that he didn't know he was going to have after he was let go from the White Sox, comes in and does way better than expected.
Right.
He's done everything that has been asked of him and more. He was Mike Trout while Mike Trout has been on the IL. And so for Kevin Pillar, I'm giving him all the praises. I'm singing all of his praises for everything he's been able to do. He's cooled off, which I think to me keeps him from having an A or an A+. So just in recent games, he's cooled off, right? And we all knew that was going to happen. But in this first half, he's been a saving grace. That's why I'm giving him an A-. For Taylor Ward, I'm giving him a C-. Mike, I think that he gets a plus in the category of being the RBI leader on this team. That's well-deserved. Mike, I'm afraid he's broken at the plate. He's hitting 228 right now at the half. And that's not Taylor Ward. Now, he's barely under league average in terms of OPS plus, but at the same time, we know he's better than this, and he's getting freaked out by the pitches coming inside. And so I have a hard time grading him harshly.
Yeah.
At the same time, it is what it is. And his play on the field, to me, leads to a C-. And I would give him an average grade in terms of a C for his fielding too. Sometimes he does really great, and sometimes you and I are complaining the next day on the show about some move that he made or some play that he made out there.
Right.
So to me, Taylor Ward gets a C-. Mickey Moniak, I'm giving him a D for Disney, even though Mickey is the best Mickey in Anaheim. He's streaky, Mike. And like I said, the highs are very high and the lows are very low. And he's worse off than last year. Might have something to do with the amount of playing time that he has or hasn't been getting, considering they had Aaron Hicks to start the season, and him and Joe Adell were splitting time, and Mickey was kind of the odd man out. So I wonder if more consistent at bats, which he's been getting lately, and he has been doing better lately. Right now, as it stands, I'm giving him a D. Finally, not finally, I got two more. Joe Adell, C-. He's improved his defense tremendously. Obviously, we all see that. And that's a huge step for Joe Adell. Mike, even though he has a C-, the second most RBIs on the team, that means something.
Yep.
The home run leader on the team, that means something. But the batting average, 190.
Right.
Joe, you can do better than that. And the way you do better than that is to get back to the kind of compact swing that we saw you use over last weekend, but also the one that you were using in April. So he can do better than 190. Right now, he's sitting at a C-. I hope that he ends up at a higher grade at the end of the season. Finally, Mike, I know it's harsh, but I'm giving Mike Trout a D grade. You got to stay healthy. You got to get back. And that 220 batting average that you're sitting on right now that you left the league with is looking pretty ugly. So come back and fix it then. So get healthy, get back, and do Mike Trout things again. I'm disappointed he didn't get into the All-Star game, but the truth is he's always gotten hurt later in the year to the point where people look at his first half and go, well, that's pretty good. Let's vote him in.
Yeah.
Even if he has been hurt. And I'm disappointed that he's hurt. And I know it's not his fault. It's not like he did anything wrong. I need him back. And so that's why I'm giving him a D grade.
This is why we're brothers, because I gave the outfield a D as well.
Oh, interesting.
And I'm going to start with Mike Trout. You talked about him being hurt and his impact on this team. He was on his way to a big home run season. He had 10 home runs before he was hurt, right? And here's the thing I thought was really interesting. This was a stat that I heard recently, is that he hasn't played on the 4th of July since 2019.
Yeah.
So it's been a long time.
Take out a 2020 because they didn't. Nobody played that year. But
sure.
Yeah.
And that was the last season that he really, 2020, that he actually played almost every game. He played 53 of the 60 games that year. He's got to stay on the field, and he's. You said everything that I needed to say. He shouldn't be blamed for his injuries. However, like, you're the star, bro. Got to figure out how to stay on the field.
Yeah.
Let me talk about Joe Adell. I love his defense improvement, and I love that he's getting playing time. I am really frustrated with his inability to adjust his swing. Like, he has had flashes of being able to do that. It now needs to be consistent. Same with Mickey Moniak. He looked overmatched at the start of the year, probably was due to some of his playing time, but it's really the lack of adjustment that's really frustrating with Moniak as well. And I think you see that across the board. We don't have somebody that is blown it out of the water when it comes to batting average in Major League Baseball right now. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we talked about a couple weeks ago with George Brett, and George Brett saying everybody's looking at launch angle and trying to knock it out of the park instead of getting a level swing. And that's why this guy had over 3,000 hits. And I think Moniak will actually benefit from a level swing. And somebody who has benefited from that is Luis Rengifo, who we'll talk about in the next segment. Taylor Ward, you said it, struggling. I think he's lost at the plate. He's getting to a place where he's giving away at bats, giving away the outside corner, and he's shying away from anything on the inside. And so that that's really frustrating, but I also have a lot of empathy for him because I know that he's dealing with, a ball hitting you in the face, right?
Actual trauma. Yes,
Yes.
I'm with you on that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, Kevin Pillar, I'm going to give him an A- like you did. The reason why my outfield isn't an F is because I'm still grading on a curve. And Kevin Pillar came in and was Mike Trout when Mike Trout went out. And that is not who he's been in his career, but he had a run where he was fantastic for the Halos. So my overall grade for the outfield in the first half is a D.
All right, time to have some parent-teacher conferences then, because we both gave out Ds, so that's not great for this outfield. Hopefully they can turn that around in the second half, and hopefully a lot of that will have to do with Mike Trout.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by Booking.com. It's the summer, and it's time to travel a bit before you head back to school or head back to your job. You have vacation time. So it's time to travel, and especially travel following your favorite team, the Angels. You can explore U.S. cities with Booking.com. They're here to help you out. Hotels, bed and breakfast, vacation rentals, resorts, so much more on Booking.com. You just might find your perfect stay, even if it's in your baseball rival's city. From hotels that overlook stadiums to family-friendly resorts, Booking.com has so many choices across the United States for your summer travel plans. And you can find the right stay in any city and take all the guesswork out of your travel plans and flex your booking power with our new everydayers, Booking.com. You can book today on their website or use their app. Booking.com, booking.yeah.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Prize Picks. It's America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It's the most fun, exciting way to get in on the action and watch your favorite players help you win some money. How about that? You can win 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000. All you got to do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and you're locked in. You can add your favorite players from the diamond to your Prize Picks lineup all season long. You're not locked in with one team like regular fantasy baseball, like I am with my huge injured list of every player who's on the injured list right now is pretty much on my team. Whether it's strikeouts, RBIs, or first inning runs, take your pick of more or less and add them to your Prize Pick lineup today. And Prize Picks now offers Apple Pay for quick and easy deposits into your account this season. So download the app today, enter our code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, all lowercase, for a first deposit match of up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy.
Let's talk about the infield, Johnny, and I'm going to give them a grade of B, and here's why. Development. Adjustment. I like when I see baseball players do that because they are baseball players and they should do that. And specifically have loved to see the growth of Zach Neto and Logan O'Hoppe. Both have first improved defensively. You have seen them really step up. 9 defensive run saves for Zach Neto is incredible. And Logan O'Hoppe has really figured out how to be a good backstop, not just throwing runners out, but also how to call a game. And I love that he was taking ownership of some of the really terrible starts and some of the bullpen moments earlier this year. Mm-hmm. Was it his fault? I don't think he wants to argue that. I think he just wants to take the blame and be a leader there. So I love that. And offensively, these two guys, when they come up in big spots, I'm confident as a fan that they're going to make contact and move the runner over, or perhaps even get the runner in. So I love what Logan O'Hoppe and Zach Neto have done at the beginning of the year. Louis Rengifo just needed consistent at bats. And 2 nerds on a podcast have been talking about that for years, right?
Yeah. I think like 2 years now, actually, Mike, we've been talking about that.
Yeah. I give him an A, but the injury knocked him down to a B. I know it's not his fault.
Really?
However, I'd give him an A, but that injury, I need these guys to stay on the field.
A whole letter grade? Shame
absolutely.
on you. You're harsh.
Really
I'm not taking Mr. Frisch's class.
I love that he's adjusted his swing. I love that he has lessened some power for more batting average, and that I think has really helped this team. Nolan Shonowell, I'm going to give him a C only because his on base isn't what it was last year, and I think that that's his bread and butter. I think that that's where he thrives. I do appreciate the power that he's shown. The average is low for the type of hitter that he is. I'd rather see his average be a little bit higher and his on base be a little bit higher. His defense is okay. Johnny, he's got to work on his base running. He's not fleet of foot, although I think he's really Improved the last couple of games where he's stolen some bags and things like that. But stay on your feet, bro. Get some longer spikes because you're falling down a lot.
I'm running like Nolan Shonowell with his chicken wings out to the
Yes.
side. Bro, tuck your arms in and do a Lloyd Christmas.
90 degrees, baby. And then we'll talk about Anthony Rendon. I'm going to give him a neutral grade of C because hard to evaluate what he's done in the small sample size. However, him being on the field and being in the starting lineup has been a benefit to this team, but you got to stay on the field just like Mike Trout. Bro, got to stay on the field. Other guys like Guillorme, I like him. He's a quality backup. And Willie Calhoun, I'm going to give him just a personal B because I think he's really filled in nicely as a designated hitter. And then he tried first base a couple of times as well.
He tried some first base too. Does he count as part of the infield grade?
Yeah. So overall, Johnny, I'm going to give the infield a B.
Mike, I'm going to give the infield a B+, and here's why. When that infield consists of at least O'Hoppe, Shonowell, Rengifo, and Neto starting, it's going to be a good game. And, that usually means that there's somebody else at third or maybe somebody at second if Rengifo's playing third. And Guillorme has filled that role really nicely as a defensive player. Logan O'Hoppe for me is easy, an A. And it's easy for me to pick that because I see the improvement behind the dish. I see that he has a 121 OPS plus, 21% better than league average.
Yeah.
Mike is batting 278 as it stands right now, 14 home runs, which matches the home run total he had last year in a shortened season. Mike, I'm going to move on to Nolan Shonowell. I'm going to give him a B-. And I know you mentioned his on-base percentage, but let me point this out to you. It's turning around because in April, his on-base was 302. It was 287 in May. In June, it was 340. And currently, in July, I know it's only been 13 games, he has a 400 on-base percentage.
Wow.
So to me, it's turning around, and I think that he will continue to hit for contact, take those walks, get on base, do the things that he needs to be doing, because that's who Nolan Shonowell is. He's a Luis Ariz type, right?
Yeah.
When I think about Luis Rengifo, I'm giving him an A because the injury doesn't bother me. I know that he had the wrist inflammation, but if he's back by the time the 10 days is up, which technically I think should have been 3 days ago or 4 days ago, because he went on the IL retroactive to July 4th, I think he could be back in time for the weekend or maybe early next week. But all that to say, it doesn't bother me that he's on the IL because he's been a workhorse all season long. It's the best he's been in his career. He's played all over the field. I can't take anything away from him. And you're right. The emphasis on batting average over power and hitting the ball to all fields. It doesn't matter if he's hitting as a righty or a lefty. He's doing everything right this season. He's got a 123 OPS plus, 23% better than league average. Mike, I'm giving Zach Neto an A. He's got 12 home runs as a shortstop.
Yeah.
And that is only going to get better from here. And a big part of that is his clutch hitting. He's a 279 hitter with runners in scoring position. Mike, with 2 outs and runners in scoring position, he's a 281 hitter.
Awesome.
So he is just Mr. Clutch. Big Papa is Mr. Clutch. He's improving as a shortstop. You mentioned his 9 defensive runs saved so far this season. He's got a positive 0.7 ultimate zone rating, which kind of encapsulates all of his defensive metrics in terms of range and arm and things like that, versus last year, a negative 1.8 ultimate zone rating. So positive movement for Zach Neto. Now, you saw me give out a bunch of A's and a B- here, and I gave the infield a B+. What drags it down for me is Anthony Rendon. I'm giving him a C-. Like you said, when he's healthy, he's productive, but he's been missing all season. He always needs at least a week to get going and find it again. Mike, the reason why it's not lower than a C- is because after Rendon went hitless in his first 5 games this season, he ended up hitting a 357 average, 413 on base, 411 slugging, and an 823 OPS before he got hurt.
Wow.
I think he can continue to do that, but he needs to get going. He needs that week. Of course, he played for a week. Then we have the All-Star break, so he'll probably need another week
to get going,
and then he will. So right now, C- for me. Mike, the biggest problem for me in the infield is Brandon Drury. I'm giving him an F.
Yeah.
Since he's been back, I know he came back for like 2 days, then sat on the bench for a long time, and then started playing almost every day. 167 batting average, a 255 on base, 167 slugging, and a 422 OPS. You should be about 750 to 800 in OPS. He's not helping his trade value at all. He's not helping his stat line at all. There's no semblance of getting anything for this guy that the Angels need to be moving at the deadline. And it's frustrating. And you've mentioned it before. You said plenty of stop and start streaks there where, just when he's getting going, he hurt his leg and he's out for a couple weeks. And then he's getting going again. He's hurt again, or he's sick. And I'm over it. So to me, Brandon Drury gets an F. All in all, I'm giving this infield a B+. Again, A's to the guys that you would expect, and lower grades to the guys who I think deserve lower grades.
Isn't it interesting that we both gave D's to the outfield? And if you went back to the beginning of the season, we probably would have been shocked that we were giving D's in the first half to that outfield, right?
I mean, with Mike Trout on the IL and Taylor Ward dealing with what he's dealing. Actually, you know what? You and I were cautious about Taylor Ward.
Yeah.
And thinking maybe we should trade him before the season starts or over the offseason, because we don't want to be the ones who have to deal with the trauma of getting hit in the face. And granted, he recovered and was doing well. Then he got hit again, and he's been thrown out again. And you can see the results of that in his play.
Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. The Halos are back on Friday. They're playing in Oakland, 6:40 Pacific time, and you can catch every pitch of the Angels' hometown broadcast with SiriusXM on the SXM app. Just search Angels.
Hey, give us a follow on Twitter at Locked On Angels and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, get in the comments section. Let us know what you think of our grades. We'd love to hear from you as well. Mike, what do we have on deck for Friday's show?
Well, fans know what they think. Everydayers know what we think. But now that the All-Star break is over, what does the rest of the league think about the Angels? Sometimes it's good to look outside of our world to just see what some of the experts are saying. Because I know often there's a negativity about the Angels, but let's look at what some of the experts are saying about this team. Are we way off base, or are we right on target? Where do the Angels sit in the MLB world? We're going to talk about that tomorrow on Locked On Angels.
All right. We hope you'll come back and join us for that. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here with us, everybody, and we'll see you back here on Friday. Pencils down, everyone.
Eyes up.
Push your paper away from you. Class dismissed.